What does the news today, and I'll begin with you on this, Jim, mean for the Mets and for Jay Bruce?
Well, if you're trying to move Jay Bruce, it's a bad day for you because there were 5 teams that were in on this, and certainly Toronto and Philadelphia were 2 of them. And Baltimore, back a couple weeks ago, they were another one that was at least kicking the tires. So there goes 3 of the 4 or 5 teams. San Francisco and Texas have been maybe on the fringes there, but Texas really needs a first baseman, and San Francisco lately has talked about needing a third baseman. So right now, it looks like Bruce is going to be a Met for the time being, may end up even going into spring training. And
Sandy Alderson has intimated the fact that, listen, it's very possible he's going to go to spring training with the Mets. What about a distraction now? When we get down to Port St. Lucie, if Jay Bruce is there, how big a deal is this?
Well, it's always as big as the media wants to make it. For Jay Bruce, it's business as usual. He's going down there to get prepared, start the season with a Met uniform on. You have no control over that as a player, so that you're not going in there trying to do anything different but prepare yourself. You never know what happens. If a trade's going to happen, if something at late towards when the season's about to start, it could happen on the plane on the way to the first game. That's how these things always happen. They happen late. You see where they're trying to set those rosters, those last 3 days. You start seeing that whirl when the players getting released, players getting traded in that last bit. And somebody like Jay Bruce, you're talking about a guy, 30 home run power, 100 RBIs in the tank. You don't just want to give away that for nothing. There's teams that are going to want him.
There's no question, and I think that's the thing is, you're going into a little bit of a gamble if you're in the front office. You don't like to go in having to move a guy in spring training. I think it does become a little bit of a distraction, not for Bruce, but for Conforto, because if Bruce is there, Conforto now, he's a little uncertain of where he's supposed to be in his position. Is he going to play center field? Is he going to go play first base? Or is he going to have a different glove? Well, how is that configuration going to go? So I'm a little bit worried and concerned about that, because as much as you say, yeah, right, you're right, media will make a big deal about it, but Conforto's the one guy, the rookie, that maybe can't handle it as well as Bruce might be able to. And we saw Bruce didn't handle it all that well. So I think there's a little bit of a concern from that side. But I will say this, from an ownership standpoint, if you're allowing them to get out ahead of themselves a little bit, you got to give the organization credit in that sense, because I think they'll have the money to go out and find a bullpen piece too. We'll get into that in a second. But I think it's not going to restrict their one other move that they need to do.
Well, give them credit from the standpoint of they're willing to let the payroll escalate at this point. Is that right, what you're getting at?
Yeah. So their line is what, 140, 145, somewhere in that range. They're going to go over that certainly. And if they're going to go out there, what I'm being told is they're going to go out and get themselves a relief pitcher of some kind. They're going to go extend beyond that. That piece might be $4 or $5 million in addition to the money that they're trying to get rid of on Bruce. So it could be upwards of $10 million that they're going over budget. That's not that easy to move when you get to the spring training area or when you get to April. But the willingness by ownership to do that in the organization, I think, shows the commitment that they're obviously trying to win.
So what about Michael Conforto? You mentioned the fact that that's a concern here, and I'm in agreement with you on that. How much do you believe of a concern is that if you get down to spring training and you've got Granderson and Bruce and Cespedes and Lagares and Nimmo, who you want to get some at-bats for? What's your take?
Of course, they're going to have to find ways to get these guys playing time so they can get ready. But as far as Conforto's concerned, you got to remember, this guy, the sky was the limit in 2015. He ends the season really on top of the world. Starts out the season as a gangbuster, 383 batting average. We're comparing him to some of the greats in baseball. And then all of a sudden, he hit a wall. And he hit a wall very hard. When you're telling me that this guy is not going to try and get a glove and play another position just so he can make the lineup, he doesn't want to go to Vegas. There's no way he wants to go to Vegas. So he will do anything he can to be a chance to be on that major league team. That's for sure. Now, is he most comfortable doing that? He was never really an outfielder. He was a third baseman by trade. Remember, that's how he started in college, and they moved him to the outfield. So I think he's very willing to go and try another position, and if you can fit that bat somewhere in the lineup, you make it happen.
But where are you going to fit it? I mean, the reality is, I know you talk about potentially first base, right, but you've got Lucas Jr., you've got Wilmer Flores in there against left-handed pitching, and the thought of maybe David Wright, we'll get to that in a little bit, maybe playing some first base. It's been discussed, but I don't know how that would happen, quite frankly.
There's just so many balls in the air right now, but what you're talking about is the quality of the players that you're looking at. You're looking at 3 guys. If you started the season with Bruce, Granderson, and Cespedes, that is a tremendous power-hitting outfield. Do they cover a lot of ground? No. You're going to sacrifice some of those things, but you're not looking at the drop-off from a player. Yes, Conforto has a lot of promise. There's always what can he do. We haven't seen it come to fruition over the full length of a season as of yet. So you're still talking, everybody's really high on Conforto. They want to see Conforto in the lineup. Jay Bruce has done it for the last 6 years at a 30 and 100 clip. I'm very happy if he's in that.
But he didn't do it at the end of the year. I mean, he did last week and a half.
The last week, exactly.
Week and a half, but the numbers overall were not good. So I think the question is out on Jay Bruce in New York.